So we are now heading into another international break, but the Championship definitely left off on a high point. As you can see on screen now, guys, that is how the Championship table is currently lining up, and there is nothing in the top 3 at the moment. The race for the top 6 is really heating up, and there is nothing to separate the sides near the bottom of the table. So in today's video, we will be rounding up all the action that went on over the course of the weekend in the Championship, and as well as that, we will also be discussing the games going on in the FA Cup. So if you do go on to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. As well as that, as we are going into an international break, let me know any video suggestions that you guys would like to see over the international break in the comments down below. And before we do hop into any of the individual games, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct, then I will include your comment on screen. Now, I managed to get one of mine correct this weekend. That was the Nottingham Forest against Ipswich game, right? So not too bad for me, but without further ado, let's hop into talking about some of these games. And so we'll start out with the big game this weekend, the early kickoff on Saturday, which saw second going up against third, where Sheffield United walked away from Ellen Road with all 3 points in what was quite a dramatic game, it has to be said. The clear-cut chances from this game were quite few and far between. Technically, there was only one shot on target, and that ended up being the goal for United, but Leeds certainly had the majority of the possession throughout this game, and they did create, despite not having a shot on target, they did get into some good areas. You know, Roberts had 2 fantastic chances, one that just went wide in the first half, he hit the post in the second half. Bamford got into some good areas. Alioski and Harrison also had chances, but the defensive unit of Sheffield United has been so impressive to watch lately. Dean Henderson's been excellent for them, and that is now 6 clean sheets in a row for the Sheffield United side, which is absolutely unbelievable in his league as competitive of the Championship. If you've got that sort of defensive record, you don't need to score many goals. Leeds were looking fairly poised at the back, and it was looking like the game was heading towards a 0-0 until Chris Basham managed to get on the score sheet after a little bit of a mistake by Liam Cooper. Billy Sharp managed to get the better of him. He just slipped in Basham, and then with a cool finish into the bottom corner, Sheffield United walked away with all 3 points. The draw wasn't ended there though. Kiko Casilla was shown a red card in the later stages of this game after he took down Billy Sharp as he tried to take the ball around him. Then Pontus Jansson had to go in there for the final few minutes of it, but by that point Sheffield United were happy to close out the game. This now means that Sheffield United go above Leeds in the table. However, there is only 1 point in it, and do I think that Sheffield United will have a flawless run between now and the end of the season? No, I don't. I think they will drop points, and the same can be said for Leeds as well. This race for the top 2 is certainly not over, but it does give Sheffield United a big confidence booster after this one. And then we had Aston Villa comfortably beating Middlesbrough by 3 goals to 0, and for quite a long time we've been speculating about who will make the top 6 in the Championship, and really a few weeks ago it was only looking like there was going to be one place to play for, but that is no longer the case. With this win for Aston Villa, they are now only 1 point behind Middlesbrough as well as Preston North End, so Middlesbrough really don't find themselves in a good position at this point in time. They've lost 3 games in a row, and they really got shown up by Aston Villa in this game. What Middlesbrough's whole sort of game plan has been built on this season has been their defensive stability. Throughout the season they've not really been a free scoring side, so as soon as that defensive stability has looked a little bit fragile, Middlesbrough were always going to start to drop points, and that's the case we saw in this game. El Ghazi and John McGinn both scored goals in the first half, and then to wrap it up, Albert Adoma got on the score sheet in the second half after Darren Randolph couldn't hold an initial shot, and then Adoma had a tap in. We've spoken quite a bit on the channel lately about the impact of Jack Grealish and what he's had on this Villa side coming back, but some other players have really raised their performances in the last few weeks. John McGinn once again absolutely terrific in this game, and Glenn Whelan as well. What a player he's been for Villa, absolutely crucial for them, and if they are going to make the top 6 this season, Glenn Whelan is going to be the anchor man in the middle who's going to make sure they keep ticking along. So with Aston Villa now sat in 6th in the Championship, what I want to know from you guys is, will Aston Villa be in the top 6 come the end of the season? At the moment it's looking like they will be. And then we have West Brom beating Brentford by 1 goal to 0. Griffin Park's been a really tough place for clubs to go to lately. Brentford have been quite a high scoring team there, so for West Brom to go there, pick up all 3 points and keep a clean sheet, I think is a good omen for them going forward. Brentford definitely had the chances to take the lead in this game though. Sam Johnson had to be kept on his toes. Ben Rama forced him into a couple of decent saves. However, West Brom really defended well for this one, and when their chance came, Kyle Edwards took it with an absolutely superb finish. He waltzed his way in and out of about 4 Brentford players and managed to find the back of the net. It was an absolute gem of a goal from Edwards. And despite Brentford's efforts to get back into the game, it was West Brom who saw out all 3 points. West Brom find themselves in a bit of an odd position in the table at the moment. I can't see them catching the top 3 at the moment, but equally to that, they're 10 points inside the playoffs, so I can't see them dropping enough points to go out of there. So it's just about West Brom ticking over from now until the end of the season, maintaining this position and making sure they go into the playoffs with a bit of momentum. The situation I find a bit odd about West Brom though is the fact that obviously they sacked Darren Moore. Since then they've won their last 2 games. However, it's clear that they didn't have someone immediately lined up to come in after that, so it's a bit of a risky strategy, you know, to sack your manager and not have someone in mind to come in straight after that. The international break has come at a good moment for West Brom now though. I'd expect someone to be in the job by the time their next fixture comes comes around. At the moment, Jokanovic and Alex Neil are the favourites for the West Brom job. Speaking as a Preston fan, I'd be very surprised if Alex Neil was to take the job at this point in time in the season, considering where Preston are. So at the moment, it's a tricky one for West Brom. West Brom fans, let me know down below who you'd like to see as the manager. And then we had QPR making quite a dramatic late comeback against Hull City. This one finishing as a 2-2 draw, and with Hull dropping points in this one, that probably sees an end to their playoff hopes for this season. They are 6 points off the top 6 at the moment, and although that's not impossible to catch up, I think there's too much between them and the top 6 at the moment for them to realistically have a late surge for it. So a disappointing way for Hull to drop points as well in this one, especially how the first half was going for them. Jared Bowen scoring 2 more goals for the season. That's now 21 goals he has for Hull, the first player to score 20 in a season since I think Abel Hernandez. So Jared Bowen's been absolutely phenomenal. There's no doubt going to be a lot of interest in him in the summer, and Hull putting together some really nice passing combinations. Grosicki slipped him in for the first goal, and the second one was absolutely fantastically taken. QPR, despite being 2 goals down, they were causing some problems going forward. Bidwell was providing some decent overlapping runs down that left-hand side, and they were certainly creating chances. Josh Scowen then got them back into the game in the 62nd minute, and Hull probably did have the chance to put this game to bed. Jared Bowen had a couple of opportunities, one which was saved well by the keeper, one which it looked like a volley was about to set up for him at the far post, but he just couldn't get the ball out of his feet. And then in the 84th minute, QPR managed to level things up. It was quite a hopeful sort of raking long ball coming down the middle of the pitch. The ball was headed back across goal, and Tom Ahmed was the player who got the final touch in it to make it 2-2. Quite a sloppy goal for Hull to concede, really. Been a bit of a weakness for Hull in the last few games. They have conceded a few suspect goals like that, but I feel like that was quite a big comeback and point for QPR, really, especially considering where they are in the Championship. They're not going to go down this season, but they need to make sure they're taking over for the rest of the season to just make sure they don't slip into that relegation battle. And then we had Ipswich drawing 1-1 with Nottingham Forest. Quite a frustrating result for Forest given all circumstances, you know, the fact that they are chasing the top 6 at the moment, and they will probably see this game as 2 points drop. But Ipswich at the moment are no mugs. They've drawn 6 of their last 7 games, and since Paul Lambert has come into the job at Ipswich, they have taken some points off some pretty big sides so far. You know, the likes of Bristol City, West Brom, Derby County, Preston North End and Sheff Utd have all dropped points against this Ipswich side under Paul Lambert. So for Forest to be dropping points in this one probably wasn't the biggest surprise, actually. Ipswich took the lead after just 5 minutes. Some nice work from Edwards down the right hand side, flashes the ball across the box, and then Kwan is able to stab in underneath Pantilimon. Disappointing goal for Forest to concede, really. Under Martin and O'Neill, they've looked quite solid defensively, although I was surprised a little bit as to how Nottingham Forest actually approached this game. They weren't really looking to set the tempo of it and take the game to Ipswich. It was quite level for the majority of it, actually, and for a side chasing the playoffs like Forest are at the moment, maybe you just expect a little bit more from them in this game. The referee was quite a controversial talking point after this game. I don't think he had a very good game for either side, actually. Nottingham Forest had a goal disallowed which should have stood, and equally to that, Ipswich also had a goal disallowed and probably should have had a penalty late on as well. This result does leave Nottingham Forest down in 11th at the moment, but they are only 3 points off the playoffs, so by no means are they out of it as of yet. But I think that one player that needs to get back as soon as possible is going to be Lewis Grabban. Since he's been out injured, their form has dropped off a little bit. And then we have Preston beating Birmingham by 1-0 thanks to a last minute goal from Shawnee Maguire, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure how Preston have managed to pick up 9 points from our last 3 matches. In all those games, I've got to be honest, I don't think we played that well in either of them, but to take maximum points from all of them, I can't have any complaints. Coming into this game, I was a little bit apprehensive. We were without Paul Gallagher, who's arguably been our best player so far this season, and Alan Brown as well, so we were always going to find it a little bit harder to break down Birmingham in this game. I think that could be seen, actually. Birmingham had the best of the first half, though, creating the better chances. Chalens had a very good one-on-one, which was well saved by Declan Rudd, and Magoma had a fantastic chance where he managed to weave inside, cut inside, but blast his shot wide. He really should have done better with that one. The second half was a bit more nip and tug between the two sides. Neither side was really creating that much, although in the last 5 minutes, both sides went for the win, tried to win it, and Preston managed to break through with Daniel Johnson. He just couldn't get a shot away. A Birmingham player managed to get there first. However, Preston got a corner. Daniel Johnson took it, and Shawnee Maguire was there to pop up with the clutch moment for Preston and give us all 3 points, which really does propel us up the league and keeps us in the hunt for the top 6 at the moment. We're now level on points with Aston Villa on 57, sat 7th in the Championship, only down on the top 6 in goal difference. If we do manage to make the top 6, it would be some story to say the least, considering we were bottom after 10 games. We really don't have an easy ride, though, from now until the end of the season. In a 3-game stint, we've got Sheffield United at home, Leeds at home, and then West Brom away, and it's those 3 games which I'm thinking probably are going to decide our season. In terms of Birmingham, they have been in the news recently about a possible 12-point deduction. Whether that's going to take place this season or next season or not at all, it's yet to be decided by the EFL, but if they are to get a 12-point deduction this season, that will see them sat only 2 points above the relegation zone. Then we had Norwich continuing their impressive run at the top of the Championship, and this victory now sees them go 5 points clear of Leeds United in 3rd at the moment, so there's a little bit of breathing space appearing for Norwich now, but it was a tough game in this one against Rotherham. They managed to take the lead just before half-time. A brilliant chip over the Rotherham defence from Timu Pukki. The Rotherham defence had been quite compact up until that point, and Kenny McLean with a well-timed run managed to take it around the goalkeeper and poke it in to make it 1-0. In the second half, Rotherham responded well. Semi Ajayi playing in midfield once again, popping up with another clutch goal for Rotherham. A nice sweeping finish into the bottom corner. Although Norwich responded well with a goal from a set piece, the ball coming in from a corner and Ben Godfrey nodding it in to make it 2-1 to Norwich. After that, both sides continued to create chances. Norwich definitely could have buried this game sooner than they eventually did, but to pick up all 3 points in this game wasn't a given. You know, Rotherham have been quite resilient so far, and you have to say, with Norwich having that little bit of breathing space between them and Leeds, their fixtures also do look quite favourable between now and the end of the season. After the international break, they've got quite a tough test against Middlesbrough, but after that they got a string of quite winnable games actually by Norwich's standards. So at this point in time, Norwich looking quite favourable for going up. And although Rotherham are still sat in the bottom 3, it was another decent performance from them, and by no means are they out of it yet. And then we had Sheff Wednesday beating Blackburn Rovers very convincingly by 4-2. This result leaves Wednesday just 2 points off the playoffs now, and they're in that bunch of clubs who definitely has a stake to make it in the top 6 come the end of the season. I see quite a lot of similarities between Wednesday and Preston at the moment. Both sides really picked up their form at the start of 2019, and since then they've been relentless picking up the results. Blackburn really didn't help themselves in this game. I thought the defending was absolutely woeful at times. They've struggled lately with crosses coming into the box, and that could definitely be seen by this game. Fletcher took the lead for Wednesday after 10 minutes, but the second goal that Wednesday scored from Nuhiu, if there's one player you want to pick up from a set piece swung into the box by Barry Bannon, it's going to be their target man, Nuhiu. Blackburn left him completely unmarked. He had a free header, and he easily made it 2-0 to Wednesday. Blackburn did get 2 goals back in this game through Conway and Bennett, but defensively they've been falling apart lately. Iorfa managed to get Sheff Wednesday's third, and then late on Matthias, where with a goal that probably David Ray should have done a lot better with, managed to make it 4-4 Sheff Wednesday. And they still remain unbeaten under Steve Bruce so far. It would probably be fair to say that Wednesday have the hardest fixture running out of all the sides currently chasing the playoffs. They've still got to play Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, Leeds United, Norwich, Bristol City and Preston North End. You can look at it in both ways really. In some aspects, Wednesday probably have the destiny in their own hands, as they still have to play absolutely everyone around them, but they really do have a tough running. So if they do make the top 6, then fair play to them. Next up, we then had Stoke drawing 0-0 against Reading, and I've got to be honest, I just find Stoke a bit boring at the moment. That's their 3rd consecutive goalless draw in the Championship now, and although they do find themselves 7 unbeaten, they've just not been that great to watch. They've only scored 4 goals in their last 7 matches, and you know, there's an argument to be made that they're building for next season now. You know, they're in a position in the table where they're not going to do anything for the rest of it. You know, they're not going to go down, but equally they're not going to challenge the top half of the table. Going forward, Stoke did have some decent chances, and there were some spells of the game where Reading were put under pressure, but managed to come out of it and defend well. And given the fact that Rotherham dropped points this weekend, a point away at Stoke wasn't the worst result in the world for Reading. Stoke's best chances from this one probably fell to both Tom Ince and Sam Vokes. Ince hitting the post and Vokes hitting the crossbar. Although this now was Stoke's 7th goalless draw of the season. So from now, I think that Stoke just want to regroup over the pre-season and just set up for next season now. And then we have Wigan beating Bolton by 5-2. I said in my prediction video that this was a must-win game for Wigan, and what a way to win it. Emphatically scoring 5 goals. Bolton, they didn't help themselves for this one. Wigan took the lead in the first half through Joe Garner after just 4 minutes. A really nice free kick whipped in by Reece James, and Garner getting his head in it. Always going to be a dangerous player from those positions. But the second half was when things really got out of hand for Bolton. Bolton left a little bit of space in behind their back line, and Wigan managed to capitalise on that with Massey making it 2-0 to Wigan. And then Remy Matthews, the Bolton goalkeeper, drops an absolute clanger, which I'm sure all you guys have seen by now. He gets the ball, he actually takes a look behind him to make sure there's no Wigan player there, puts the ball down with a Wigan player there, he darts in front of Matthews, plays the ball square to Powell, and then he has a tap in to make it 3-0. I think that goal pretty much summarises Bolton's season. Despite Bolton getting 2 goals back through Gary O'Neill and Semi Ameobi, Wigan were fairly comfortable throughout this whole one, getting 2 more goals through Jacobs and Leon Clark, making it 5-2. And this result for Bolton now leaves them 8 points adrift of safety, and with 8 games to go, I think that's too much to ask. Wigan, on the other hand, have moved back up to 19th and are now 3 points away from the relegation zone, and it's definitely not over for Wigan. They need to keep their tails up between now and the end of the season, but a big 3 points for them in that one. So there were all the games that went on this weekend in the Championship, so do let me know in the comments down below, what did you make of your team's performance? But before we do wrap up today's video, we do have a couple of FA Cup games to go over as well. So in the FA Cup, we have Man City beating Swansea by 3-2 in a very dramatic game, and Swansea found themselves to be very very unlucky in this one, on the receiving end of some very dodgy decisions. And I know it's been said a lot over the course of this weekend, but why VAR is used in some FA Cups and not other ones, it's a little bit of an injustice really. Swansea were absolutely fantastic in the first half of this one though. They took the lead through a penalty, and then what a goal scored by Preston. I think there's still a bit of a perception about Championship clubs that the league is still very sort of scrappy. Everyone sets up in a 4-4-2 formation, plays hoofball football, but that's not the case, and Swansea showcased themselves to be a very good footballing side against probably the best side in Europe at the moment. In the second half, Man City were always going to come back strong. They brought on Aguero, a fantastic goal from Bernardo Silva to get City back into the game. They're outside of his foot. Although then after that was when the controversial decisions did start to come in. Manchester City were given a penalty, which in the end came back off the goalkeeper and went into the back of the net. That shouldn't have been given, and then Aguero's winner in the 88th minute was offside. Also shouldn't have been given, but Manchester City went on and progressed through to the semi-final. So Swansea can find themselves to be very unlucky, but I thought they gave a very good account of themselves. And the other game in the FA Cup involving the Championship club was also very dramatic. Millwall 2, Brighton 2, with Brighton winning on penalties in this one. The game really burst to life in the second half as Pearson O'Brien gave Millwall a 2-goal lead. And going into the final exchanges of the game, that was looking like how this one would finish, but Locadia got a goal back for Brighton, and then Solly March, who would look like Brighton's real danger player for the majority of this game, managed to get Brighton back into it, and an awful mistake from Martin. It was a little bit of a drifting free kick, which was going into the top corner, but not really with any sort of power or curl. But Martin mishandled it, and it ended up in the back of the net, and the game obviously then went to extra time. Extra time couldn't separate the two sides, so it went to penalties, and Brighton actually missed their first one with Glenn Murray hitting the crossbar, but unfortunately for Millwall, it wasn't to be their day. Jake Cooper blazing his one over the bar, and that saw Brighton progress to the semi-final. So a really gut-wrenching way for Millwall to go out of the cup. I feel like this has been quite a good distraction from the league actually. Some of their performances have really been great in the FA Cup, but their main focus can shift back to the league now. And after this weekend's drama has unfolded, Millwall do still find themselves above the relegation zone, but only by 1 point. But guys, there were all the games that did go on this weekend, so do let me know in the comments what did you make of your team's performance. In terms of my result of the weekend, I'm going to have to give it to Sheff Utd for going away at Ellen Road and beating Leeds by 1-0. In terms of my goal of the weekend for the Championship, I'm probably going to have to give that to Kyle Edwards of West Brom, but overall from a Championship club this weekend, I've got to give it to Preston from Swansea City for that fantastic team goal against Man City. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for this video, so thank you so much for watching. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.